What's up, everybody? My name is Dr. Zach Guiser, and this is another entry into the Athlete Development Journal where we provide simple solutions for complex athletic problems.
Yeah, straight A student, but I'm friends with the cool kids. Following the rules and the rubric. Freestyle on the bus.
Some people are life-giving. Being around them just fills your cup. When you spend time with them, you feel more alive and more energized. These people, we call them fountains. Others, however, are life-taking. Being around them empties your cup. When you spend time with them, you feel depleted and exhausted. We call these people drains. If you took 10 seconds, I'm sure you could think of a few people who fit squarely into each category. You've got that one fountain friend who is always laughing, doesn't stress you out, and is just enthusiastic about life. Then you've got that other friend who is constantly complaining. Everything's so hard. They walk around like someone just peed in their Cheerios, and they always talk about how unfair life is. That friend is a drain. It's so easy to put other people into these categories, right? But what about you? Are you energy giving or are you energy taking? Are you an optimist or are you a pessimist? Are you a victor or are you a victim? Are you a fountain or are you a drain? Seriously, take some time to think about that. Drains are completely unaware of their drain-like tendencies. Maybe you mistake your pessimism for being realistic, or maybe you think your victim mentality is a display of humility. You need to do a deep dive and audit and discover where you sit on that drain fountain spectrum. I'll let you in on a little secret. No one wants to be around a drain, nor should they. The more fountains you can expose yourself to and more drains you can avoid, the more full your life will be. Surround yourself with fountains and become a fountain. In just a few weeks, we're going to be in full swing of spring sports season, which might more aptly be named Shin Splint season. Track, club volleyball, AAU basketball. Shin splints are such a spring sport pandemic that I like to talk about this every year to help you fight the plague. Today, we'll start by going over what the anatomical issue actually is. Then we'll move into general strategies to reduce the odds that you'll get shin splints. And for you track athletes, I'm going to give you super specific strategies because you are all by far the worst shin splint culprits. So, what's going on in there? Shin splints are that annoying pain on the inside of the shin that gets worse with running and jumping. It really sucks the day after running and jumping and then feels better with rest. The fancy research folk tend to refer to this as medial tibial stress syndrome. In medicine, giving something the title of syndrome essentially means we don't really know what's going on in there. And isn't that wild? Shin splints are about as common as seeing a teenage girl with a Starbucks drink, yet we still don't know exactly what's going on in there. There are two prevailing theories. The first theory is that there's micro damage to the bone itself. When you sprint and jump, your calf muscles contract violently. Those calf muscles produce a moment that bends the shin bone or the tibia backwards. Now, it doesn't actually bend it. The muscle contraction provides stress in that direction. It's like if you tried to break a really, really thick tree branch. You probably wouldn't be able to bend the branch, but you might be able to put some cracks in the bark. Similarly, those violent muscle contractions provide a bending stress that could cause micro damage to the bone surface itself. Another theory is that the bone itself is not the issue, but instead the place where the muscle inserts into the bone is the problem. Overusing the calf and the other lower leg muscles can lead to tendon and fascial connections to get damaged and irritated. In reality, both issues are probably in play to some degree. Okay, cool. Well, it's great. Well, yeah, everything. To be honest, Zach, I don't care. Okay, what can we actually do about it? Regardless of the anatomical problem, the root cause is the same. You have a mismatch between the amount of work your shins are doing and the amount of work your shins are capable of handling. We call these load management issues. Load management issues lead to overuse injuries. With an ankle sprain, you might just take one weird step and then you're hurt. Shin splints aren't like that. This injury builds up over time. As a load management issue, shin splints have two sides of the equation that we can manipulate in our favor. Number one, the amount of work the shins do. Number two, how much work the shins are capable of handling. Our bodies are the most adaptive machines on earth. The amount of stress they can handle is truly awe-inspiring. But you must gradually build up to handle that stress. If you slowly build up your workload, your body will have time to adapt and make the changes needed to handle more load. If you go too fast, however, your body won't be able to handle it and you'll end up injured. We can actually measure this using acute to chronic workload ratios. And we've talked about this a little bit before on these podcasts, actually a lot bit before on these podcasts. The acute to chronic workload ratio, or the ACWR, is calculated by dividing the acute load, which is the work done in the current week, by the chronic load, which is the average work done over the past 4 weeks or so. If you have an ACWR over 1.5, you are 2 to 4 times more likely to get injured. The injury risk is lowest when you stay in the sweet spot of 0.8 to 1.3 acute to chronic workload ratio. To make this more tangible, let's imagine a track athlete who has averaged 3,000 meters of sprinting per week over the last 4 weeks. Then their coach has a bad week at work and decides to take it out on the sprinters. So they end up with 9,000 meters of sprinting that week. 9,000 meters is the acute load, divided by 3,000 meters, which is the chronic load, gives you an acute to chronic workload ratio of 3.0. An acute to chronic workload ratio of 3.0 is way above that safe range of 0.8 to 1.3, so their shins are in trouble. Now, outside of global workload, we can manipulate a few things to reduce the amount of stress that the shin itself undergoes. You can jump and run on soft surfaces because that's easier on the shin. So if you get off the hardwood, you get off the track, go on the turf early on, that can help out. Cushioned insoles can mimic a soft surface, so you could also do that. Add some cushiony insoles into your shoes. Then you can see if there's something about your running or jumping mechanics that we can alter to take some stress off your shins. But I'll be honest, this is something that everybody always thinks is the issue, but rarely is it something that you, one, can manipulate, or two, should manipulate. All right. The second part of the equation, to manipulate that, we can increase the capacity of work that your shins can handle. Muscles can act as buffers and protect the surrounding bones and joints. Aiming to get all of your lower leg muscles, so your gastrocnemius, your soleus, your tibialis posterior, tibialis anterior, intrinsic foot muscles, things along those lines, if you get those stronger, you can increase the workload they can handle. If you don't have enough ankle dorsiflexion range of motion as well, then you're not going to be able to absorb force smoothly. If you add more ankle dorsiflexion, that can increase the amount of work that your shins can handle if you don't have enough already. The most important factor to increase capacity, though, is gradual exposure, graded exposure. That's the same thing we just talked about. As we push the threshold of how much stress your shins can handle, but don't cross it, your body will adapt and increase its capacity to handle that load. For our worst shin splint culprits, you track athletes, you guys are always getting shin splints early on in the season and then having to deal with them almost all the way till the postseason. I wanted to leave you with no excuse to not start taking action today. So let's say in 5 weeks from now, you're going to have track practices that look like this. Monday, 400 meter warm-up lap, 5 by 60 meter dashes, 200 meter dashes. Tuesday, 400 meter warm-up lap, 400 meters at 70%. Wednesday, 400 meter warm-up lap, 8 by 20 meters, working on accelerations that day, doing some block starts. Thursday, 400 meter warm-up lap, 5 by 60 meters, 4 by 200 meters. Friday, 400 meter warm-up lap, 4 by 400 meters at 70%. That's a total of 7,160 meters in that fifth week, with a mix of low intensity and high intensity impacts. If I had 4 weeks to prepare for that, so if you're a track coach, if you're somebody who can ramp up your volume, we're about 2 weeks out from track season in Western PA, so we don't have a full 4 weeks to get ready for this. But if I had 4 weeks to prepare for it, or if I was a track coach, or if I wanted to share this with my track coach, I would do something along the lines of this to prep for that fifth week. Week 1, we're getting 60% of that volume. So it would be Monday, 3 by 60 meters, 2 by 200 meters, Tuesday off, Wednesday, 4 by 400 meters is 60%, Thursday off, Friday, 4 by 60 meters, 4 by 200 meters. Total distance there is 4,200 meters. All sessions that I'm talking about here automatically include that traditional 400 meter warm-up lap that every track coach in the country makes you do. I don't know why they do that, but we're including that because it's almost standard practice anyways. Week number 2, we're getting to 70% of that volume, 5 by 60 meters, 4 by 200 meters. As a side note here, I have this chart all laid out for you. I can just add this to the show notes here so you can easily get to it. Tuesdays off, 4 by 400 meters on Wednesday at 70%. Thursday off, 5 by 60 meters. On Friday, 6 by 200 meters. That gives us 5,000 meters for the total distance that week. Week 3, we're getting to 80%. I'm not going to read through everything. We're working on Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, working on Thursday, Friday, and then that gives us a total of 5,700 meters. Week 4, we're at 90% of that volume. We're working all 5 days, just like you're going to be doing whenever you get to practice on that fifth week. So it's a total of 6,400 meters. The big takeaways here. Number 1, shin splints are a plague in the spring sports season, but we aren't 100% sure of their anatomical cause. Number 2, to avoid the plague, you want to manipulate the amount of work the shins do by progressing your acute and chronic workloads intelligently, while simultaneously increasing how much work the shins are capable of handling by improving your lower limb strength and range of motion. And I want to leave you with a little thought about why I think we need more we. And I'm conflicted about this. I've written before about the struggle of we versus me in high school and youth sports. We Americans live in an individualistic culture, but collectivism is always propped up as the correct mindset within a team sport. There is no I in team, you know? In that article, I came to the conclusion that sometimes you have to be team first and sometimes you have to be me first. And I still think that's true. But now I'm concerned about how much our sports culture is over indexing on me first. High school and youth athletes play on their main school sport team, a travel team, maybe two travel teams, and maybe one or two other teams for other sports. The bulk of recruiting has moved to the travel teams for just about every sport. So the traditional model where high school sports reign supreme is dying. Or if we're being honest and more accurate, the traditional model where high school sports reign supreme is kind of dead. So, with the barrier to changing travel teams being so low, athletes are constantly moving from one team to the next to find the right fit for them. And to be honest, who can blame them? That's probably the right move for them. But I think with us being deprived of one of our main sources of collectivism, we lose out on our nourishment for our soul. Arthur Brooks is a leading researcher in the science of happiness, and he often talks about the imperative value of transcendence. He defines transcendence as the practice of making yourself small and the universe large. Focusing on your own career, your own appearance, and your own social status makes your world feel tiny and fragile. Transcendence is the antidote to this fragility. It allows you to view your life as a small part of a vast, beautiful, and meaningful whole. And it feels kind of oxymoronic, doesn't it? Regularly being reminded how small you really are in this great big world is one of the best ways to find meaning and improve your happiness. I think being team first in sports has been a rock of experiencing transcendence as an American youth, and it saddens me to watch that erode away. All right, let's wrap it up with a couple important things. As always, number one, this newsletter and podcast are completely free. I spend many hours each week researching, writing, illustrating, recording, editing, and uploading. The best way you can support it and allow it to continue is to share it with people you know. You can just send them to gtperformance.co/newsletter, or maybe more easily, just share this podcast with them wherever you're listening. If you're on Spotify, just send it from there. If you're on Apple Podcasts, send it from there. If you're on YouTube, just send it from there. Share this link with somebody today, please. And the second thing here, everything in these newsletters, podcasts, social media, and our website is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice for you or your athlete. Please consult directly with a healthcare professional. Thank you so much for your help in spreading word about athlete development. And until next time, go be great out there.
Yeah, straight A student, but I'm friends with the cool kids. Following the rules and the rubric. Freestyle on the bus and it's too lit.